what happens is that guys, like the criteria for girls at like this kind of standing, we tend to want more.
Yes.
And one of the criteria, for some reason, for all the girls that I've talked to at least, is always we want men who are able to
Before we begin the podcast, have you gotten your free ebook? It's called the Build a Six-Figure Portfolio Guidebook. Now, inside it, we share with you the tips and tricks to bring your stock investing skills to the next level. The best part, it's only 10 pages long and it's totally free. Whether you're on Spotify or YouTube, the link to download is in the description, or you can go to www.firl.co/free or www.firl.co/free. Hey guys, welcome back to the pod. Today, I not only have someone special, or I guess a special, but also a good friend. Some of you might be wondering, since some of you might already know that we know each other, we've collaborated before in the past, and why did it take so long for me to get her on? There is no excuse. Actually, there is no explanation. I have no explanation for you. But here she is. Welcome to the podcast, Suyin.
Hi everybody.
It's about time. I also need to achieve the gender equality quota. 30% of the podcast should be female. I'm obviously far behind.
30% only. Yeah. Oh, that's quite sad.
But again, because that's the target that like Malaysia has for like the number of board members in corporate Malaysia.
The bare minimum.
Yeah. But fun fact, I don't know whether this is still true, but I think this is my last update is 2018, 2019.
Okay.
In the US, of all the investment banks out there's not a single woman being that is CEO. Yeah. But in Malaysia, we have roughly 11.
Yeah.
I think 3 are women. Like the Hong Leong one is women and a couple more.
So we're doing pretty well on that front.
Yeah, for a developing nation, right? Not too bad. And from what I understand, these are not women who have been chosen to fulfill some sort of diversity quota. It's because they're actually good.
By merit.
Yeah, by merit. So that's great. But we'll talk about women later on. I think one big updates for your life is that you have returned to YouTube. After a year and a half long hiatus.
Yeah, it feels like a long time. Actually, it feels like roughly 2. Okay, yeah.
It's about there. It feels long, at least for me. So, but even then, our subs are still lower than hers after a hiatus. That's the kind of contrast. I think we are like 1K behind
1K
something or more, something like that.
Yeah, I can catch up.
Yeah. So, you before the hiatus, you were known as Stash Rego.
Yes.
And then there's the hiatus, and then now you return, right?
Yes.
And we will go into the reasons of you returning. But share with us why was there hiatus in the first place?
Okay, yeah. The hiatus came because I was like absolutely burnt out.
Yep.
I was just working too much. At that time, I had basically 3 jobs.
Okay.
So I was doing my full-time work in sales, and doing YouTube, which feels like a full-time job, even though it's just like one video a week.
I remember you like hiring editors and stuff like that, right?
I did. I still have my editor. I rehired him recently, even though I'm like making no money or little to no money. So it's coming out of pocket. And then I was working on a online digital school.
Yes.
And I was also doing a project with some friends on a female financial workshop. So a lot of things were going on. I was trying to be like a good daughter, a good girlfriend at the time, sister, all of this, all the roles, and it just got too much. And I needed to choose. Maybe I chose wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. But I think, questions like burnout and, juggling multiple roles is quite a common thing. But maybe give us a sense specifically for you, like let's say typically in a day. And the reason I ask this is so that people actually know what it's like to burn out, what it's like to really work 25 hours a day, right? So
25.
let's say you wake up.
Sure.
Then I understand you're in sales. So you would start the day with your work or with your other side projects, and then walk me through the day. Ooh. Why is it so...
Okay. At the time, I'm the kind of person who's like very, very stubborn. I want to do things my way, right? So
Sure.
I'll wake up, I'll go to the gym before work, and then I'll start, the sales work.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm a bit vague because I like my privacy, right?
Yeah.
So I'll start that work first, and then it will look like either I am going to work from home, or like a lot of calls, a lot of emails, a lot of text messages, or I'll go and see my customers.
Traveling.
Travel.
Okay.
And that's when I lose a lot of time. If the customer is really far, or like if it's just a lot of back and forth. Yeah.
And it's not just in Klang Valley, right? It's also
it goes pretty far out. Yeah. It can be out of state.
Right.
Like the nearby states, like Malacca and stuff like that.
Peninsula, still in Peninsula.
Still, yeah. No
Right.
east side.
So am I right to say that for your 3 other projects, this would be the workshop thing?
Yeah, there will be after hours. Sometimes I would, like sneak a bit. I'm human, right? We would like to find time within the working hours where possible, for me at least, to do a podcast or to like just take a call. A lot of collaboration, a lot of email, a lot of admin things.
Emails especially.
For YouTube, yeah.
Calendar organization.
Yeah,
It's
like
a lot of time.
suddenly I needed so many more skills than I actually had at the time when it came to like negotiating like projects or collaborations, brand deals, right? And it just got too much. And I was like, I look at my parents, they look at me, and then they're like, don't disturb her, she's too busy. I just felt like shit lah. Like, what kind of life was I living at the time when my parents look at me and say like, oh, don't disturb her, she's too busy. That just shocked me, like.
That way, who was trying to disturb you, I guess?
No. Like when I go home, because I don't live with my parents anymore. I moved out, right? Yeah. And I was just doing my work and sitting at the dining table, right? And that's when usually my dad and my mom will come and say, want to talk to me, like catch up. Or as parents, they have like 101 errands that they ask for support.
Yes.
Because, like we're faster with tech or whatever. Yeah. So he would remind himself not to disturb me. Or like just like maybe like other relatives around the house or my siblings.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was that bad. And I feel like right now I'm doing the same pattern, but I'm trying to catch myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about right now later.
Sure.
But you had like different projects working on, and clearly you picked the route of giving up a few of them. What was it? Why gave up the things you gave up, at least temporarily?
Why? Because I felt that YouTube was a huge bonus for me. I know. I knew that was important, and I knew that I was building something meaningful and something big. But at that time for the digital school, I was very invested in it. So there's like a relationship tied to it. So that's why I chose that over YouTube. Because I thought YouTube I can pick up again later if I really wanted to. And it was also, YouTube was taking up a lot of the mental space. I think I wasn't very mentally strong at the time to deal with the stress of constantly churning out content. Yeah, it became very tedious. A lot of like replying of comments. So I always felt behind.
And then if you feel like if you don't reply, then, people start to talk behind your back and say, she doesn't really reply.
Oh, yeah. I never thought of that. But it was just like the thought of like people, sending a message. Maybe they needed, advice, some support. Not advice, because like I don't want to give like people advice.
What I would do in your position.
Yeah. So it's just like I don't like the feeling of, when your messages are like piling up. Yeah, I don't like that feeling. Yeah. So I am compelled to clear it. I know it is not very healthy. Yeah. Sometimes it's good to just like leave it there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but at that time I was really compelled lah. So I went the other way lah, and I would just like completely did not touch Instagram and YouTube, and I started to feel really bad as well. Like the story started to play in my head, like people are worried. Some people started reaching out in really different ways, like messaging me on like WhatsApp, Telegram, or like personal Instagram, like trying different ways to reach me. Yeah.
Just to ask about your status.
Like, are you okay?
Wow.
Are you like, is everything all right? Do you need any help or support?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, maybe share a little bit about that digital school project. What was the intention? How much progress you made, and why do you decide to put it on pause? Is it on pause? I'm not sure about the status.
Yeah. Okay, so that was like a franchise model, and it was too expensive a business model to actually be viable, in my opinion. And also, I feel like the idea is good. The idea is good for a very niche category of students, but it's not for all students. So I'm really a believer of like physical education, because you cannot really replace that high touch environment for learning, especially like for kids, even adults. Like we learn best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in the physical arena, right? There's so much more we can do as teachers and as like facilitators of learning. Why? Yeah. So it was like a franchise model. So we paid money to the Singapore entity which owned the schools. So we were basically more like marketing, like the marketing side, to open up the Malaysian market for them.
What was the niches that they were focused on?
So kids who are really advanced in their learning and they want to take, more like reign over their education. So, like the kids who run so fast in front of all the other kids in school, and then they're bored in class. Then the teachers like maybe don't have the capacity to challenge them and stimulate their mind. So like very gifted kids in that sense.
Okay.
And then there's another category where they're like, socially awkward, or like they get bullied, which is contentious, right? Because like if you get bullied, then you also want to be able to like help them assimilate into the school and society. But some parents want to remove them completely. So that is an option for them as well.
I see.
And then there are like the sports kids who like are always traveling. So that they can like homeschool per se and go at their own pace.
Right, yeah. I guess the challenge would not only be that the niche is small, but that people aren't even aware that there are these kind of offerings for my a bit awkward or wayward kids, right? Yeah.
It's like you only find out when you have that issue or problem, or you're looking for a solution.
Yeah.
And
it's
tiny.
How far did you manage to go with this in terms of the interest generated? Maybe even people committing to pay for the services.
So it was quite we got quite not a lot of students. We got a handful of students, maybe like 5 full-time students. And it was really, really fun for me in the sense that it was just another opening into education, which has always been my interest after graduating. So we got some progress, but I was working with my partner at the time, and I just learned a lot about our relationship as well. Like running a business together
maybe let's go into that right now. I think for those who are unaware, you were quite open on your own channel about the splitting of the relationship.
Yes.
And I think people can go and watch the full story there. But specifically, I want to get a sense of what you think about working with a romantic partner in a business, because there's really two schools of thought, right? There's one school that says, let alone romantic or family, right? No family.
Any relationship,
nothing, right? It needs to be like professional. It needs to be even friends. Some people say no friends, right? But then you've got the other side, you've got people like Jen Chia, who is literally working with the husband. You have the Ming brothers, who are brothers, right? And no one can sit here and say, well, they're not successful in any way, right?
No.
So, based on your own experience and based on your own learnings, what are the do's and don'ts, I guess?
Do's and don'ts. I think like I'm very biased from this point of view, because obviously the relationship didn't work out. But I would say just know who you are in the relationship and know who your partner is and what skills do you bring. Like, are you complementary, or are you going to just really like butt heads, or like there's roles that both of you cannot fill, and then it's just going to be a lot of difficulty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess like for me, what I learned is communication strong enough for the both of us to actually run a business together. Like, it's like as simple as that. Not even about like business acumen or anything yet. Is that like baseline communication strong enough? And for me, for my part, no, it was not love. And yeah, I mean, I don't think like moving forward, do I want to work with a partner for business anymore? I don't think so. I feel like I just want to enjoy the relationship. Yeah. For now, at least.
What were the bumps specifically? Is it that you guys had similar skill sets, that's why you kind of duplicate the work, or maybe slightly different opinion, and then other areas were neglected? Or was it that people, were just not focused on the job at hand? They were dropping the ball, things like that. What specifically?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't want to shit on
of course.
my ex-boyfriend, because like this is just from my experience, right? Yeah. But like for me, I felt that maybe the commitment level of the both of us wasn't fully into the business, because like we were both like doing things like outside of it, so we didn't have that all-in mentality. And I feel like when we run a business, it's really important to do that. Like even like right now for your FIRL site, I feel like it wouldn't be what it is today if you were distracted. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And I feel that way with my my full-time job and my YouTube channel. Because I am distracted, then my results are like this for now, right? So that level of commitment needs to be there.
Was there an event, or was it accumulation of smaller events that led up to you deciding to stop the project?
I think at that time it was me evaluating what did I want, and I wanted the relationship at the time over the business. Yeah,
I see.
And that didn't work out, which I'm also glad. I'm also glad it didn't work out, because I mean, I love him as a person, but we're really better off as friends.
Yeah. Fair enough. And I know, again, guys, if you want to hear the full story, go check out our channel.
I don't even think my channel has a full story. I pulled that video.
Oh, really?
I pulled that video. I didn't post that video.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I need to feel free to not answer the question, because I really have a few follow-ups. Now, I was listening to the Backholder podcast. A friend of mine, Bunti, was running it, right? They got you on, and one of the contributing factors to the split really was how finances were viewed, right? In a male-female relationship. And one of the things that you said, which I think will probably be the most controversial topic in this podcast, would be the income. And you stated that you only wanted to date, or eventually marry someone who had your own level of financial security, financial freedom, whatever it is. Call it income, savings, however you want to define it. Then only you will consider it's essentially same level or up, right? That was what I got from the podcast. I could be wrong.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah. And so share with me a little bit about that. Why is that the case? Because people can misinterpret that to say that, you only marry for money, right? I mean, people can listen to that and say, but clarify a little bit on how you came to that conclusion.
I think for me, like through experience in like my past relationships and in dating, when I say dating, I really have not dated much, but like like those like childhood
puppy love fun,
you like me, I like you kind of thing. I feel I always had that sense that like it's easier to date someone who comes from a similar background for ease of the relationship. I know it sounds whack, or it sounds like horrible or too convenient, but it's just easier than fighting against the current of like, oh, okay, like we we don't do this in the family. Like we don't spend money on this, or like we purely just like scrimp and save. Like it's just easier. Like I'm a big fan of that now, at least, like to not swim against the current so hard, because it can be very exhausting. Yeah,
that's true.
So like why a similar like income level or a similar focus of like, let's build our wealth in terms of assets? I think it's teamwork, right? It's something that is like it's something that I am focusing on right now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm a very good solo player. I like to play like solo games because I can go really fast and I can go the way I want.
Ask for permission, right?
Yeah, and don't need to ask for permission, and like cannot, like you don't need to say like, oh, is this the correct way? Like, are you okay with this? So I've been doing solo for quite a long time, even when I was in my last relationship, which I only realized later on.
Right.
And yeah, like this teamwork thing needs to happen, or like it doesn't need to happen, but I want it to happen.
I see.
And it's easier when we are aligned.
Right.
In terms of like end goals or what we want the process to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not that I want to be a gold digger or like I just marry for money. It's just easier when someone is, aligned.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that typically the reverse is not true. So you never hear a guy say this?
No. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. When I was dating, when I was asking like friends of mine, they said I'm gonna have a very hard time dating because I'm of this kind of thought. I have this kind of thought process, and I have achieved like some success in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm like decently good looking.
Yeah,
I would say, right?
So self-rating, honest self-rating is
honest self-rating.
good,
Yes, about a 9 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is that guys like. The criteria for girls at like this kind of standing, we tend to want more.
Yes.
And one of the criteria, for some reason, for all the girls that I've talked to at least, is always we want men who are able to have money figured out at least, or be responsible in that sphere. Whereas for men, as the traditional role, you all tend to be like the providers, the what do you call that? Like the breadwinner.
Yeah.
So you don't really mind if your partner is not super like go-getter with like income and like wealth building. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, you're able to adapt.
Like well, I would say that a guy doesn't really care whether a girl has made a lot of money. That's not the first thing that we ask, right?
It's not a consideration that comes up first.
No. And in fact, if you take your situation and then if we actually zoom it out, it's actually quite an interesting situation, and it's happening in Singapore actually right now.
Ooh.
You're getting a lot more gender equality because women are entering the workforce.
Yeah.
And you can actually see the direction, right? If you rank in Singapore, for example, the education levels, right? So that's top tertiary, A levels, O's, and paperless, right? You can see that, especially at the lower areas, guys will date typically lower than their educational standard. So if I'm let's say I'm a degree holder.
Sure.
A levels, girl, no problem. O levels, not too bad. Don't have, also not too bad.
Also
right?
okay, can
but
do.
You will not. But when we look at the data on the female side, a girl who graduated wants a graduate boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
And you say,
and also like say if the girl graduates from like a prestigious university, that's where she wants her husband or her boyfriend to be playing at as well.
So here's the first fact, right? Here's the first layer of the fact. Then the second layer is that women are entering and graduating at a higher rate than men. Now you might listen to that and think of it as just a fact, but if you connect this fact and the previous fact, which is that men only date sideways and down in that sense, what actually ends up happening is that you get a big block of women who are very educated,
Yeah.
who do have the same equal or higher expectations
Sure.
for their male counterpart,
Uh-huh.
who will not be able to find that statistically
Yeah.
because men are
yeah.
lagging in that sense because they're not graduating universities
Mm.
more and they're not all that.
Mm.
So maybe that's like the macro part about what your
Sure.
friends are saying, but that maybe that's what they're saying. I mean,
Oh.
individual relationships is a little bit more complicated, right?
Right.
Because there's so many other factors.
Everyone's different, right? This
Right.
is just like the stereotypical,
Correct.
like what's happening around us in my bubble at least, right?
So that's why I want to follow up with this question because there's a layer, there's more details involved, right? And
Sure.
if you actually put it down to numbers, I think it will help people understand this
Okay.
better. So I'm going to throw you a few hypotheticals and then
Can.
you're going to give me a yes or no, okay?
Okay, can.
So in all hypotheticals, the women will earn more than the men.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you tell me at what point will you start accepting? So again, the assumption now is that whatever suitors appear in front of you,
Okay.
they will be earning less. So let's say you are earning 10,000 ringgit
Okay.
and then the guy's earning 5. Yes or no?
No.
So let's say if it's 15, you are 15 and he's 10. Yes or no?
Okay, can.
So do you realize?
Even though it's like the same difference,
yes,
but the level matters also,
right?
right?
Because you
The
feel like
differential.
a guy who can achieve that 5-figure salary, he needed to put in some work, right?
Yeah,
to get there.
he took some effort to get there,
I see.
right? And I guess like maybe he wanted it enough, maybe the cards lined up enough for
Yes.
him. There's a lot of reasons why people earn what we do, and I don't think it is wise to just like blanket statement like you don't earn enough because it's your fault,
Yeah.
right? But at the same time, it's easier in life to take that ownership back, to
Yeah.
take that power back, because I mean, I was there, right? I complained like, oh, I didn't earn enough as a teacher,
Yeah.
but I was willing enough to shift, to change, and can
So
be done.
if I summarize it, you would accept a guy earning less than you, but above a certain point.
Above a certain point, like
Right.
hit a threshold, right?
Yeah.
And also, I'm aware that just because he's earning less now doesn't mean that he does not have
Yeah.
the potential to earn
Yeah.
more in the future. And
Right.
I guess like after a certain point, it's like it's not about who earns more. It's about like what you want to do with that money, right?
Together,
And
yeah.
what, like, sure, you can be earning a lot of money, but you can be like spending all of it. There's also there are many layers, right, to this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So guys, you listen, if you want a girl like her, I cannot say her because, 10K, guys.
thank
That's the
you.
magic number.
Thank you, at least. Huh?
Yeah. And I think it's not, okay, yes, it's still a climb because 10K is what?
Yeah.
T20 in Malaysia, right?
Right.
But the way I think of it is, why should you expect for yourself as a guy to do nothing and then get a girl? You know what I mean? There needs to be some sort of standards in there. And
Yeah.
will you say, I know I speak to some of my friends who are girls also, will you say that girls, yes, they do care about the end results of how much you're earning, but also the trajectory and the momentum is probably more important.
Yeah. So I've had a lot of interesting conversations about this with like my older customers. They one told me that at that time, so he's a business owner, right? So at that time he had this girlfriend, and then she wanted to break up with him because he was still figuring out like how to make his business work, how to be, solid and stable before he actually married
But
her.
he was putting in the work.
Well, he was putting in the work,
Right,
and he
right.
was in process, but she couldn't wait. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, how do you make that decision?
Yeah. Where do you stand? I guess if let's say you see a guy like, he's not quite 10K, but you can see like he's putting solid 15 hours a day in his job. He's serious. You listen to him. Girls typically can tell, whether the guy is,
whether he'll get there or
smart
not, right?
whether he has the genes for it, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah. If he's
Where
built
you
off the
stand?
right stuff, right?
Yeah. Does he have the right ingredients, right?
Yeah.
You got the right ingredients. The prawns are fresh or that, but can you cook the dish or not?
Yeah, good.
Right, you
Jadi
don't
or
know.
not?
Yeah.
I think for me, as like the person that I am, and if I love this guy, I will stick it out.
I see.
And
Okay.
I've proven that lah,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's what I felt about my previous relationship. And sometimes that is at the detriment of
Yeah.
the person, whether they're female, whether they're male, right? Sometimes we go so far into a relationship and then we don't
Yeah.
cut our losses per se because of all of the sunk costs
Yeah,
that we've
yeah.
invested. And I feel like now it is sadder to enter a sad
Yeah.
marriage that
Yeah.
you know is going to be draggy, won't work, than to say goodbye to a really long relationship.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard to weigh.
It's just choosing between like two
hard things.
evils, I guess, in that
two
sense.
hard things. Then,
But obviously, I mean, the line that you would draw would be if the guy just stops putting effort. I think that would be safe to say, right?
yeah. 100%.
But sometimes, maybe there's bad luck or whatever. You'd be more, that would be more palatable to you. Like, let's say if he's really putting in, but then he got cheated or whatever.
I guess so. Like, but at the end of the day, how long am I going to keep up with this story? Because it's not just the story the person is telling me, it's a story I'm telling myself about us and our relationship.
Yep.
It's just at the end of the day, what do I want? What do I want? And
so why I bring this up is because it's very interesting as we enter the 21st century, because we are seeing women earn a lot more nowadays, relatively. And you get situations like sometimes as a guy, you wonder, okay, yeah, of course, you still, a lot of guys still have the ego of like, I need to be the one earning more.
Sure.
Wow, that has lessened over the years, but it's still there. But sometimes I imagine, what if I swipe right on the founder of Canva?
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no, I mean, I could be a billionaire. I could, but she's going to be a billionaire, right? And then so I'm like, okay, how are you going to date?
Can you do it? Like,
Yeah,
can you bring yourself to date a billionaire?
I wouldn't know what my answer would be, but I think for me as a guy, as long as it's compatible and there's a respect of boundaries and we can make it work, make the dream work, I think it's okay, and manage some of your money, just a little bit, just 10 million is all right, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Just bring it here.
Right? And okay, that's an extreme example, but I actually know of a couple, a family friend.
Yeah.
Their parents have this precise relationship where the woman earns a lot more than the guy. And they've been together for almost 40 years right now. They are happily married and things like that. And at one point, this is what my dad told me, like her EPF contribution per month was higher than his salary. So for those of you who are unaware of what I just said, the typical contribution on EPF is 11%.
11%.
Which means her income was nearly 10x of him. But the guy, this uncle was, he's a happy-go-lucky guy. He likes playing his guitar. He still worked. He wasn't like a bum or anything, but he still worked, but he just likes the guitar. Whereas his wife was this very hyper-industrious Hakka lady who worked at I won't say a company's name, but they do banking functions, right? And so she was earning that huge amount of money, and it worked.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why it's not as complicated. It's not as simple as the woman, the guy needs to earn more, or things like that. There's a lot more.
I really wonder how they made it work, or like did they really work, or like. There's always stories behind what is presented, right?
That's true.
And I'm just very curious, like if it was really working, what were the things that they did? What were the things that they aligned with?
I mean, if I had to try to guess, I think a lot of it is really self-knowledge and knowledge of each other. Because if you look at the couple, they are incredibly complementary. Because here you have this guy. Essentially, he's a Hawaiian in a Chinese body, right? If he had a choice, he would wear floral shirts every day. He would play his guitar. He loves to just sing. Very easygoing guy.
Like free spirit.
I know. I still remember when he was around, we would watch football, and my team would concede a goal. And I'll be like so frustrated. He would pat me on the back, hey, it's okay, man, it's just a game, and things like that. Whereas the other lady was like, okay, she's a no nonsense. She will be the feminist dream, right? Because she's hyper industrious and she's gotten very, very far. Now she's apparently like the secretary for her area. Like the Aduns have to go to her, ask her whether or not they can get her blessing to build projects and things like that. So I think it's a self-knowledge of what the other person is.
Yeah.
And recognize that this, uncle of mine who loves to play guitar, he's never going to be the guy who earns the multiple 5 figures.
Yeah, and he doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
Because that's not him. And I think that's where it's important in relationships to really know who we are on the inside before we actually go forth and have that relationship. Yep. Because if we are, like for me at least, like I felt like I was still trying to fill like this like hole of like, oh, I'm not good enough when I was in my past relationship. So that's why the focus was on him. Like I wanted to
build him up.
Like build him up, right? When I could have just focused on myself.
Right.
In the first place. And
I see.
I think that's the issue. Like when we are in relationships too early, or maybe the focus just becomes on somebody else instead of inwards. Yeah. Then that's also reasons why relationships don't work out.
That's true. Okay, man. I think I want to do a slight detour into really one of the key things that I've gotten through your social media pages is really how women in finance can really up the standards. And, well, to be fair, and I'm quite sure you will agree, there's the voices are not as strong as you would like it to be to really, there's maybe only like on the top of my head, maybe 3-4 influencers who would talk about this, female influencers. And I was tied this to the recent reported data on how Malaysians are not being paid now, right? And then you add in the fact that women, there's some sort of inequality in terms of the results of women earning less. And in your experience, both your life, talking to other people, talking to your supporters and subscribers, right? What are the top reasons why women don't earn as much as men? And how do we remedy it? And should we even remedy that?
I would say, why not remedy it? And for me, at least, like from my really limited opinion and like what I've seen or what I've experienced from like a personal standpoint and also in my friendship groups, is that we don't really as women advocate for our worth, because we are so busy questioning, are we even worth it?
That's true.
From like not just like a financial standpoint, like am I worth this 10K? Am I worth the, that raise, that huge raise, that, or like even just like coming out as a fresh graduate, am I worth this insane figure to me? Like, I don't think we have that tendency to be like, yes, that's me and that's what I want. And that boldness is missing.
Okay.
I feel like there's a lot of like being a woman, being like a girl to a woman, there's like a lot of like well-behaved women, quite meek women. And like we have to be humble as an Asian woman as well. So like there's this disparity of like, okay, you want all these things in a higher salary, but you also need to be likable.
Yeah. I mean, if a guy is assertive, he's like an alpha.
But
if a girl is assertive, she's a bitch, right?
She's bitch, or like she's bossy, or like she's a ball buster, right? That's usually.
I've never heard that before. But
you never heard that before,
But okay.
So like women who are too strong, doesn't rub the right way for a lot of people. Yeah. So there's a lot of adjustment that has been made. I think like there are books on this also, like how to be a woman in a man's world. Like there's like a way to present your ideas. It's like a very roundabout way. I don't know. I feel like it's very silly, but it somehow
It
what
works.
is what works.
Have you watched the latest Barbie movie?
Yeah, I have.
That's exactly it, right?
Yeah, I have. I
Right.
actually really enjoyed the Barbie movie.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's better than Oppenheimer. That's what I think.
Oh, is it? I still have
Yeah.
not watched Oppenheimer.
But you know, I guess what are the so you've identified the big reason, which is the boldness, right? And
yeah.
you know, from asking for higher salaries, that's one. And even job application. Someone did a study in the US actually. They said that guys will apply for a job they didn't know they will never qualify.
Yeah, right. And
But then
women,
sometimes they get it.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh,
it's just
alright, I'm in, you know.
that willingness to go for it because you don't know like how many applicants actually apply for that job.
Yeah.
And then women, for me at least, and my friends were like, I don't think I'm ready for that. So let me get ready
Yeah.
for that. And then when I'm ready,
Yeah.
I will go for it. And it's too late lah.
And then the guy with half the qualifications is like, okay, let me just type out the email.
It's like, I'm
Then,
so
got a
I'm
lot of
so
typos.
great.
So many typos in the email you send, you know.
Yeah. And like there's a bias when it comes to exam taking. I think there was a study like when I quote all of this, like I just read things and I
top of your mind lah.
right. So it's just
Bias,
basically
okay. In exams, okay.
yeah. So it's the that sureness that men have like I did really well. I think I did really well.
Yeah.
And then women's like, oh, I did really shit lah. I think I got this wrong. And then come out the results are way better than
Women outperform men in
Yeah.
academics
Yeah.
for sure, most of the time.
And then there's also like more studies on this, like the reasons why is due to like brain development on males.
Oh,
It
serious,
is like slower
yeah.
in the earlier years. So that's why there's like that lag of like
That's true.
maturity, right? Yeah. So men have it quite hard, I think, nowadays also. In the way society is structured now. And like with females really rising like in qualifications, like that's why you have a lot of like we talked about this just now, a lot of high quality women, a lot of like men who are a little bit lost with like feeling not enough because
I think
difference.
it's a very complicated situation because typically schools train people in general, male or female, to be compliant and to it's only they're training them for entry level corporate jobs.
Yeah.
And one of the key things for you to do well and to rise is being compliant, getting your boss to like you, things like that. At least at the lower and middle tier.
Yeah.
And women just dominate that area. That's why when you look, the classic, I always give this classic example in Malaysia, which is top glove. One of the things that they promote, and this was like before this ESG thing was popped off, right? They said that, 65% of our workforce is female. It's like, wow. Then when I look on the board, there's only like one female. So what it really signifies is really where the distribution is. When it comes to the middle, women have a lot more.
Yeah.
That's why, I mean, to use very, very crude language, right? You seldom see a dumb woman. It's very hard to find a dumb woman. It's very easy to find a dumb guy. But when it comes to the geniuses, all the mavericks of the world, then you see men start to dominate. So there's a distribution
curve that's like a bloat in the middle.
Correct. And so what happens is that a lot of these mavericks ended up being maverick guys, and some maverick girls get lumped into this system that benefits the mean more, benefits the center a bit more. And they just hate school and they don't know why they're there. They don't pay attention. And then these kids get called ADHD kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you hear so many of these stories. The minute they get out of school and then suddenly they're like, they found like 6 companies that exited 5 of them, and then suddenly they're like right on top.
Then you get all these articles like, oh, this person dropped out of school. You can do it too.
So I think it's very complicated because when people look at the stats where women are graduating, I think now like 60-70% more than men, something like that. Therefore, women are now becoming smarter than men, which we know is not accurate because if you look at the stats, actually it's the same. The IQ levels are pretty much the same for men and women. Yeah. But it's just the distribution.
Yeah. I mean, like it's also like these results are based on, academic results, right? Which is already very skewed because rote learning, which is what a lot of us do, like we regurgitate information instead of understand it. I mean, I was like that too. And then when I became a teacher, I struggled because I had to actually understand it in order to teach it.
And you taught like chemistry, right? Back in
No,
the day?
no, that's MJ.
Oh,
I
you
thought
taught math.
economics and
okay.
English. Yeah, too.
Wow. Would you say as an and I mean this education of both male female is very interesting. And from your perspective, when you were teaching these kids, right, you taught a unisex class, right?
Yeah. Both
would you say that girls can sit still better?
Yeah.
It's not just a stereotype, huh?
It's not a stereotype because like they tend to want to like keep the peace a bit more.
Yeah.
They're very conscientious, like more organized.
They want the teacher's favor and praise a bit more.
Yeah, and they're more like, how to say, like they're the boys are a bit more unruly.
Mm-hmm.
They're fun, like they're just being themselves, whereas like the girls, they can be themselves, but they are like within a certain
they
behavioral.
Know
they know their boundaries very clearly.
Yeah.
So fun to teach like kids, teens, because you can see like what it's like. Yeah, what our nation is like, because these are the future, right?
And were you? I mean, this is a bit of a sidetrack, but I've always thought one of the ways that you could solve this ADHD. I use the word with quoted commas because it's a medical term, but a lot of them are just bored, right? That's it.
Yeah, they're bored.
Do you think it could be solved by having more like physical education classes? Because I feel like there's a big lack in whether it's private or public schools.
That's interesting. I don't think it's solved with that. I think what needs to come in is movement in class. Allowing kids to be in their bodies and not sit still. Because it's torture for human beings to just sit still and learn, because you don't learn that way. You learn in many different ways. You learn by doing. You learn by doing. That's the best way, right? So it's kinesthetic. Then like people are auditory, where we hear. Most teaching is done through listening, which doesn't work.
It's an information transfer.
Yeah. Right. And there's so many ways of learning that's not happening in the classroom, or it's not incorporated. I think that's the key, really. More activities, more practical things, less focus on grades, and more of like thinking and, the relationship aspect, like how to deal when your friend doesn't want to be your friend because they're angry at you. Yeah, things like that. It helps. Because the reason why kids are not learning in school is because they're dealing with something at home or in their relationship.
And the parents are not teaching them. And the parents
could be.
The parents, especially when they pay for private or international schools, the parents almost like want to outsource the raising to schools, right?
Yeah, because like they could be too busy, or they could feel like that's an entitlement. Like there are a whole heap of reasons, but it's both ways. Like it needs to happen at home and in school.
Anyway, education is always a complicated subject, so maybe we just get back into your journey. So that was the hiatus, and you decided to come back.
Yes.
Does that mean that now, I guess, why did you decide to come back?
Why did I come back? Actually, I didn't think I was going to come back, so I was quite surprised. What happened was I did like this whole self-focused recovery post-breakup, because I was actually really, really, really down, really depressed. I couldn't sleep. And when you cannot sleep, it wrecks your whole life. It's not recommended. Sleep is most important. I just went on this journey where I wanted to do things for myself. So that's when I started like, I knew I wanted to do a solo trip. And that's when I said, I want to do a solo trip, but I don't want to die. I don't want to worry everybody and be I'm going to go to South America as the first solo trip in my life. What I did was a safer option. I went for a surf camp where it was organized. So there's like a place to stay. It's a limited time, 7 days. And my friend went before, and I asked her a whole bunch of questions, and she said, yeah, it's great. The organizers are fantastic. And Monsoon Surfer, that's the camp organizers, they're great. And when I went, I felt this sense of like peace and just a whole new ball game for the life that I wanted. Because I'm very go. And surfing, that lifestyle is very like your uncle. Yeah. Your Hawaiian uncle in Malaysian body. It's like that. And I did a personal development course, which I told you about endlessly, right?
Yeah.
And what I realized was like, oh, okay, in my life, I always felt like I wanted to play very safe. As long as like I'm happy, my family's happy, that's good enough for me. I want to learn to be contented with my life. You know, like that saying, like as long as you can appreciate what you have, you're good for life. And I agree with that. But there's also this sense in me that I know that I want a lot more. And I want to play at a level that is maybe unreasonable, maybe that, you know, like sometimes I do need to sacrifice time with family. And I think it took me going for a program like that to show me that I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
More what specifically? What is this next level you're looking at that you claim to be unreasonable?
Yeah. So when I first started teaching, I wanted to change the Malaysian education system.
Right? That is very
huge.
Yeah.
Right. And then I don't know, at that time, after a while, I was like, oh, jaded already, like tired already, like, change the education system. I cannot even earn more money in my own life. Like, how am I going to change the education system?
Yep.
So after a while, I justified it away. I'm like, okay, maybe it was just my ego that was talking. Like, it sounds good and it's like a conversation starter. This is what I want. So after a while, like, you know, that dream kind of like faded. But truth be told, it was still there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just about acknowledging it, that sometimes I do have this big dream, whether it's changing the education system, whether it is bringing something at this point in time, it is about showing people how to live life, how they want, and how to get there.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it, but I want to do this. And right now it starts with my YouTube channel.
Okay.
As I grow, maybe it will look different. Maybe it'll look like a school. Maybe it'll look like learning centers. I don't know. But it's just that willingness to admit that, okay, I want more. So how am I going to get it?
Has there been any modifications on your dreams of changing the Malaysia education system? Now, why I ask this is because election season is actually coming up, right? We are, as of this recording, 3 days away from the state elections.
The state elections.
And so I've been to a few charamas, actually just one. and you hear a lot of, you know, words like, oh, we need to save the environment. We need to, I don't know, change the society, you know, things like that, which all sounds good. But will you say that there's something more specific right now with the education that you want to do, the education changing that you want to do, specific steps that you want to say, like concrete steps, maybe?
Concrete steps, I guess, like the de-emphasis on grades would help a lot. I mean, don't do away with looking for results. Results are always important. But there needs to be more humanization within the classrooms, which is like what we talked about. There needs to be more teamwork there. And also like a relevance to where it's like, you know, why are we learning this for? What is the larger purpose? Like as part of being in our society, is this actually helping? Like say, a lot of the times when I was teaching my students, they're like, will I use this in real life?
Yeah, Pythagoras theorem, classic.
And also it's just about helping them see the links in, because whatever they learn, some of it they'll use, and some of it is just like things to feed their brain and to get them curious to the next stage. I think that's also what's missing, that curiosity for like, I'm learning this, but there's also way more. Yeah. So I'm not a very like detailed, concrete person.
Sure.
But the overall is really about focusing on them as people instead of just students, because that's just limiting them.
What is the ideal, what would it look like? The kind of students that, the ideal students that you would produce. So now we know we either get someone who is extremely good at grades, colloquially we call it book smart people.
Academic.
Then you got the other side where
street smart.
You don't show up in school a lot.
Yeah,
you know
like
you play truant.
There are some of my friends right now, like I can say that Sean Tan is one of them. Yi Heng.
Young, yes.
I feel like he's that kind of student. He's like, okay, if I really want to like just get this grade, I will know exactly how. He will work backwards. Like, okay, I just like need to study this part. I know exactly what grade I can get. You know, that kind of level of genius.
Yeah.
They're like those sorts of people. I have quite a fair few friends who are like that genius level, and they're funny lah. Like they somehow managed to make it through in the education system, and I feel like that's a blessing already.
Yeah.
Because I feel like our current education system will fail a lot of these geniuses per se, or like as you call them, mavericks, right? And oh shit, I got sidetracked already. What was the question?
What's the ideal student?
The ideal student. Okay.
What's the ideal? Like you now you have magic wand. You can create this school.
Yeah.
You can produce certain students.
Okay. Yeah, the students exist already. They're in Sriyamas, Duyamas, and MIT. They used to be called PTS.
Okay.
I feel like that school model is great. Is it perfect as it is right now? No, it's not. But the elements are there. It's very strong. And I can see it in my ex-students.
Yeah.
And how they are like when they enter the workforce. They're like problem solvers. They're team players. They are so
soft
incredible.
skills, they call it.
Soft skills, yeah. And the soft skills are what is going to get them really far. And I don't know, like some of them are entrepreneurs. Some of them are like corporate
types, yeah.
Corporate types where they climb the ladder. And I guess like time would tell like how far they can go, right? But more of that will be great.
Fair enough. So I know you have some time needs. Only a couple questions left, really. You say you don't know what your channel is going to look like in the final product right now, but maybe give us an idea of what's coming up, at least in the medium term.
Yeah. Okay. I think like I'm at this stage where I'm really just experimenting with like what I want the channel to look like. I think I want it to mimic my life and like where I'm at, and the feedback that I've been getting is like the viewers are really loving the authenticity part, which is my commitment in this channel. I feel like a lot of us, when we create content, and when I started off creating content, I'm like, very rigid. Like, okay, I need to say it in a certain way. And a lot of refilming and all of that.
That's the worst.
Yeah. And it feels like such a burden when I used to operate that way. And now when I film, it's usually one take, whatever comes. And maybe that's why I've not been creating financial content. I have this like block when it comes to that. Financial content needs to be like, it needs to have a bit more preparation. And also because I feel like, I've been honest, like I've really dropped the ball with my investing, my money, like all of that in the last year plus. So that's why I've kind of been avoiding it, procrastinating. But I will come back. I will have all of that because I feel that how I want my channel to be will be based on the pillars. First one's finance. Second one's on relationships, because you know that Harvard study, that really long Harvard study of like 70 something years of Harvard boys and like juvenile delinquents. Like the secret to a happy life it lies in your relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I've not heard of it, but okay.
It was a great one on YouTube, like TED videos. And the reason why I brought it up was because me and my friends were talking about it. They just graduated from the training program. And then they were like, oh, yeah, this video kind of sums up like what we went through in the last 5 days. Yeah. So, yeah.
Nice.
I like that emphasis on what makes my life really, really great is when I figure out finances, which helps everything else, the relationships around me, the friendships, family, romance, and the last one is self-worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can have all of this going for you, or I can have all of this going for me, like a great like monetary wealth and great relationships. But if I still feel like shit on the inside, I'm not going to get very far.
That's true.
It's not going to be an enjoyable life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Like, I heard this quote before. I mean, it's somewhat related to what you're trying to say, is that the only people who will remember your OTs are your children.
Over time.
Yeah, they're the only ones that will remember that because you're missing, right?
Right.
But specifically on the money side, right? You said you dropped the ball and all that.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to kind of bring back to life and work on?
I wanna on the channel, I wanna bring back, not bring back, but I wanna share that process of like there are times in life where I will drop the ball. It's
of course.
Yeah. And
inevitable.
It's inevitable and it's human, right? So I want to share that experience because a lot of people always see the highlight reels, right? They're like, oh yeah, stash away girl. Like, okay, like she's got like this like bucket system, everything's going. Like she's investing. But there came a time now when I was like, just like, oh, I don't care about anything. I just care about getting sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's as real as that. And now picking back up the pieces is sort of like everything's messy. I need to do something. And I want to show you the process, the real part of that.
Maybe you can do a surfing fund, right? It's like,
surfing fund.
I'm at 37% there, I think in 4 months I can save up for my surfing trip.
Yeah, speaking of that, I've been spending so much money on travel that
COVID's over, so that's why.
It's a bit too much also. And then I've been single, right? So I'm buying a lot of clothes, to feel
Wait,
cute.
so you spend more when you're single?
Yeah.
No way.
I spent more when I was single. And it's because, like just self-improvement, self-discovery, travel was part of it also, right? And then like want to look good. And then I started going for like workout classes.
Yeah, so you go to gym and all that.
Yeah, and like it costs money.
Wow. I didn't know that. It's always the reverse for guys. Like when they get in a relationship, then they spend more. For women, when they get single, then they spend more. I don't know why.
Why? Huh?
I don't know.
But that makes sense because like when the woman's single, then
they
need to pay for their own things,
yeah.
right? But no. I've never had a guy who like bought my clothes or paid for my trips. Maybe next one, huh?
Yeah, maybe next one. Okay, last question. This is something that we discussed before the pod that you wanted to include. And this is also, I think, a little bit about, we touched a little bit about this earlier on, and that had to do with being less scripted in life. And I assume you are bringing this up because it's something you struggled with, right?
Yeah.
That you always feel, and I think it's a girl issue also, where there's a certain front they have to put, certain masks they have to wear as they go out, and then they have to wear different masks depending on who they're meeting.
Right, yeah.
And of course, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of inauthenticity, because I always tell people, look, you think you can be purely authentic? Okay, don't brush your teeth, okay? Not brushing your teeth is very authentic, you know what I mean? So, but of course, I think when you compare the two sexes, I think women tend to have that mask a little bit more because they want to be more presentable or whatever. And you mentioned about how the opposite of this would be being more free, more yourself, as cheesy as that sounds.
Yeah.
So maybe share with me why this was an issue for you and how has the progress been to kind of balance this out?
Like getting there, right?
Yeah.
Actually, like what you said, it was interesting. Like when you're saying that women tend to have more of this mask, I feel like it's both. I feel like men have a very strong mask when it comes to like having things figured out. Yeah. So that's something to explore.
True.
For me, because I can only share about my experience. Like, I thought that I was being authentic and real. But what happened is that I realized that I am very prone to self-censoring. So that conversation that plays in my head is like, oh, don't say that, because like this person will feel a certain way. So I'll have like multiple scenarios where I'm like, okay, gotta process before it actually happens. And what I found out from that was that I was exhausting myself, because it's like living different scenarios before it actually happens and denying the person in front of me from actually reacting. I would like just like, because maybe I didn't want to get the person angry, or like I didn't want to have an uncomfortable conversation. I didn't want to have like confrontation. So when I realized that I was doing that, and then I started to stop doing that more and more, I realized I had a lot more energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're not thinking about
Yeah.
potential situations
Potential situations, just living and just doing.
Yeah.
And then from that, I realized, oh shit, I have a lot of energy. I'm actually extroverted.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're saying that by thinking hard about the repercussions of what you say, you actually become more introverted.
So there's like, it's important to think about repercussions, but there's also overthink.
Yeah.
And like,
well, you draw a line, I guess, you know, like, I mean, you're not going to see someone who is overweight and say, you fix it. You know?
it's like, excuse me, like what are you doing with your life? No. Like,
Yeah.
There's being authentic, and there's being really rude and really like unfeeling.
Yeah,
right?
being Trump about your unfiltered thoughts, right?
Yeah. So like I feel like, wow, just that choice to be more like, not more, but to be free in just like whatever comes lah. Like say if I do have that confrontation, if I say something wrong, not wrong, but like say something that didn't work out well with my friend, like say like with my best friend lah, like, just an example. I feel like with friends, with close friends, I actually censor myself even more.
Ooh.
Because I want to be liked by them, and I want them to always feel accepted and appreciated. So then I become this like inauthentic, fake version, which
you're the best all the time.
Which feels off, right? Yeah.
But what would you say that after this realization, what are the things that you used to self-center on that you don't self-censor today?
Self-censor. Like, let's say if I'm unhappy about something that happened, like say, okay, like if my friend is late, I'll be like, that's not okay lah. Like,
okay.
Just tell me lah. Tell me earlier. Yeah, simple things. It doesn't need to be like huge things.
So in the past, you would like,
it's okay lah. I was here already. I had something to do. No.
Wow, I didn't know, and it really took a toll on the energy and
because I didn't realize that these things really mattered, or like they really accumulate.
Or at least you knew it mattered, but you kind of like ignore
let it
like
slide.
Small,
let it slide, right?
And it builds up.
Yeah, like say if my friend said something that hurt my feelings, I was like, maybe she didn't mean it. But like actually having that time to take like have that conversation is super freeing. And then actually it's like it's working on your relationship. I actually allowed my friends to become closer to me by being honest. Yeah. So a lot of the feedback that I got from a lot of my outer relationships were that, Suyin, like I really want to be close to you, but you have this wall about you that you don't let me in.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, like it's true. I don't let you in because I feel like I have no energy to like really care about so many different people.
Yeah.
And the reason that is because I was holding all my energy to myself and like just like doing all these funny things, which so the realization came that I really do have a lot of capacity to care about more people. I think that's why you can feel that I've also been like more open in our relationship. Actually, like you've been asking me to go on this podcast since like day one, and I've been like rejecting it since day one.
When was the first time I requested?
When you were still a partnership.
Oh.
Yeah, way back then.
Yeah. Okay, now I remember.
Yeah.
Then after that we kind of forgot. And then I think
just
only
like
a couple months ago,
Yeah. So it's as simple as that. And like the change. So the change was very small. Like the decision to be authentic, to be free, it really like affected everything else in my life. I allowed more people in. The depth of relationships are more. There's more love, more energy, which is great.
Yeah. So will you say you have you have joined team extrovert already? I'm
100% team extrovert. 100%.
Okay. All right, guys. It's unfortunately we have only about an hour or so.
Yes.
I know this is a SOP lah, but people want to find you. If you want to be found, where can they find you?
They can find me. You can find me on YouTube, Suyin Ong. Instagram is Suyin Invest, which actually MJ is the one. You are the one who gave me this name.
That's true. That's true.
Right? Do you remember?
Because you wanted to do like Suyin Invest and a bit.
Invest.
Actually, just combine the words. Right.
So it's all because of MJ. Thanks so much.
And I think this was also before we started.
Before everything.
You should totally do it.
Right.
Yeah. This was like 2019 or something like that.
It was 2019.
That was the birth of the Malaysian personal finance scene.
YouTube scene.
Yeah. Just 2 or 3, and then we're like, oh, okay, interesting. But guys, hope you found this podcast valuable. As you know, you can check out on her. Don't privately message her private Instagram channel. Go to her actual the public one, the one with 10K plus followers or more. It's about a bit more now, right?
I don't know, 11, I think.
Yeah. And message her in her videos. She will always reply.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Really set the expectations. And yeah, guys, thanks for staying all the way until the end, and I look forward to seeing you in the next podcast.
See you next time.